Well, the Atlanta Fed once again downgrading its GDP estimate, this time to 2.1%, negative 2.1%, raising concerns, of course, of an imminent recession. You saw the market react to it early on. It did turn around, which is a good thing. Dow still negative, NASDAQ very much positive. Joining me now to talk about all this is Kevin Hassett, former chair of the Council of Economic Advisors. Great to see you. By the way, you are author of The Drift. We've got to mention The Drift. This is Larry Kudlow's favorite book of all time, even including his own. Well, maybe not including his own, but The Drift, Stopping America's Slide to Socialism. Kevin, great to see you. Thank you for being here. Kevin,
Thanks,
even the Beltway crowd is now admitting it takes a while for things to break through the barrier, the intellectual barrier of inside the Beltway. But even now they are saying that there are no more whispers, recession talk surges in Washington. That's a Politico headline. So are they right? I mean, is a recession imminent?
Yeah, we're in a recession. Right now, it's virtually certain. As you know, I've been saying that we're in a recession for 2 or 3 months now. And the data are basically catching up with that. And, you know, really, if you look at the personal consumption data that came out last week, they not only was it bad real consumption growth, you know, for last month, but also they revised downward a lot of the numbers from before. And so what we've got now is, you know, pretty much a lock that the second quarter is negative. The first quarter is negative, and 2 negative quarters is big negative as they are about to be, have never, ever happened since going back to the Second World War without it being a recession. And so, you know, while the National Bureau of Economic Research will say they've got all these indicators they look at, you get 2 negative quarters, it's a recession every single time.
You know, there was a guy named, there was a guy named
recession, and I think that the you know, voters are going to notice, right? It's something that, right, as soon as that negative quarter comes out, you know, about a month from now, then everybody's going to be admitting that we're in a recession. And I think at that point, you know, if you think the Biden numbers are bad now, I have no idea what the bottom is for him.
Well, again, just to be clear, the organization that is the one that officially declares a recession has to wait for some other stats to come in. But you think 2 negative quarters, and even the media will come out and say we are now in a recession. And of course, how's that going to affect the elections? I mean, there's just no way a party in power that controls both houses in Congress and the executive can win a midterm with a recession, in the midst of a recession, is there?
Yeah, it's absolutely a double whammy for Democrats. And again, you're right, the National Bureau of Economic Research, which is a bunch of really great economists who study all the different data, and then they don't call it a recession until they're really, really sure. You know, on average, since the Second World War, they've announced that we're in a recession after the recession was over. So the official call is going to be, gosh knows when. Right. But the numbers themselves are going to be visible to everybody very, very soon. And the thing that I actually like watching markets today, you guys had a great conversation about it before I came on. The one thing I think that markets don't understand is that inflation is out of control. If you look at in the PCE last week, the non-durable goods inflation was basically an annual rate around 25%. Oof. That's like groceries and gasoline and other things that you buy every day. And with inflation that high, the Fed has to keep hiking rates even though we're having a deep recession. It's one of the most difficult and challenging economies I've ever seen, and there's just no way that the Fed can pause and not give us multiple 3/4 point increases because inflation is so high, even with the weak economy.
Well, you mentioned consumption, and of course there's demand destruction going on. I think that's a large part of why we're in a recession if we're there already. But there's also these manufacturing numbers, and that's what gave the Atlanta Fed, I think, the feeling that they had to downgrade even further their prediction for what's going to happen in the second quarter.
Right, yeah, and don't forget that the numbers don't mean what you think they mean, because almost all the numbers are nominal. They're not adjusted for inflation, and prices are going up so fast right now that a number that used to be a good number, like a retail sales increase of 0.5, is actually negative consumption growth because the cost of those sales, the costs are going up faster. And so it's really a new time for data watchers, for Wall Street data watchers, one that we haven't seen going all the way back really literally to the early 70s, where it's hard to tell what the data mean because you don't know what's going on with prices, and you have to look at prices before you can judge the data. In fact, we're in a world like here's a thing that's so strange about this world. Forever and ever, when you and I have been talking about the economy, the biggest news is the jobs report, right? But now the biggest news is the inflation report.
That's true.
And so there's going to be a jobs report, on Friday, and it's going to be a snoozer. It's going to be a snoozer because everything else is like baked in, including the high prices.
Well, I would say it'd be a snoozer unless it is something really spectacularly good or bad. And in that case, it may at least be the headline of the day. But let me just ask about preparedness for the recession, because we're beginning to see more stories like we saw in the Wall Street Journal today that is worried about the savings of Americans. We've been told that the savings are okay, but Americans tap pandemic savings in order to cope with inflation. Well, they have to, because inflation has been eating their salaries away, so they're going into savings. Compare that headline with these comments from Yellen, our Treasury Secretary, and the head of the Fed, Mr. Powell. Roll tape.
It's clear that most consumers, even lower income households, continue to have buffer stocks of savings that will enable them to maintain spending.
Households are in very strong financial shape. They've still got a lot of excess savings from forced saving from not being able to travel and things like that, and also from fiscal transfers.
Kevin, I don't mean disrespect for these two individuals. They've been in the world of economics for their whole lifetimes, but what planet are they living on? I mean, you see the reality of what the Wall Street Journal was reporting on. I think the reportage that we're getting from the Journal and others talking about the way people feel about savings and how they're going is better than the economic data that these folks are looking at.
Right. Well, I would just have to say that if you put $1 away, because you think it might be a recession, coming, or there's a rainy day coming. If you did that a year ago, it's worth 90 cents now.
That's right.
And so, sure, you did put the $1 away, but it's worth less and less. And I think that when I run the numbers, I think that basically there's almost no buffer stock left. And the one thing that we usually see once a recession is really visible in the data is that people will cut back consumption sharply because they're worried that they might lose their job, and they've going to want to have enough money to pay the rent and stuff. And so you'll see a lot fewer trips to restaurants, and nobody's going to buy a new car, and all that kind of stuff hasn't started to happen yet. But it's going to happen because the buffer stock is running low, and people are going to be very risk averse about losing their job once they see how bad
forgive me, Kevin,
GDP
but
is.
what data are these people, is Powell and Janet Yellen looking at? I mean, that indicate. I mean, are they not factoring in the cost of inflation?
Yeah, I would guess that they're probably looking at nominal personal savings, but we'd have to ask them. But when I adjust things for inflation and think about like what consumption has to do to stay at at a positive growth level, I just don't see it happening because real incomes are declining sharply. Wages aren't keeping up with prices, and there's not enough savings to fill the gap. And so consumption has to go down too. And that's what I've been saying on Larry's show for months: is consumption has to go down. Consumption has to catch up with income, and we finally saw it in last week's personal consumption.
Well, what about
consumption was really negative.
There is one buffer that may be a little more substantial, and that is the labor buffer. I mean, the fact that you do have so many jobs available right now does buffer somewhat, at least the effect of unemployment going into the recession, right?
Yeah, what usually happens in a recession is that employment or unemployment moves later. It's a pretty typical pattern that firms will decide to lose money for a while when their sales go down because they don't want to have to go search for a whole bunch of new workers a year from now when things turn around. But as the pain gets worse and worse, then the workers start to feel it too. And so I would expect that we're going to see an inflection in the unemployment rate that's going to begin, maybe 3 or 4 months from now. But it won't be necessarily visible in the jobs report on Friday because labor is a lagging indicator when a recession starts.
But it will be visible in time for the election. That seems pretty clear. Yeah. Kevin Hassett, good to see you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.